Hello learners, and welcome to U.S. History Reconstruction to Present. We are on week 26, and this week you are doing units 8.15 to 8.19, so starting with Martin Luther King and going through the quiz of 1968. Our learning target for the week is I can successfully analyze Martin Luther King Jr.'s significance in terms of civil rights issues. So we're going to learn about him and what it meant for civil rights. Okay, so I want you to begin the lesson by asking what you know about Martin Luther King Jr. Take a moment and think about how he changed the United States and why today there's a federal holiday in remembrance of him. If you're unsure of who he was or what he did for America and civil rights, that's perfectly okay. We're going to learn more about that in the lesson. Okay, so just think about who he is. We just had a holiday for him in January. A lot of schools have off. A lot of teachers actually have in-service days that day. So that the students can have off, learners can have off. Okay, so you're going to go into your course and read Martin Luther King. You're also going to read Martin Luther King Jr. from history.com. There's some great information in there that's definitely going to add some valuable information to your insight on Martin Luther King. You're going to watch the video Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech from history.com. There's also another video about Martin Luther King from there as well. You just watch the top portion of it. There's a small Quizlet on him as well. And you're going to take a moment and reflect on what you learned about Martin Luther King Jr. and the following MLK quote. Faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. What do you think Martin Luther King Jr. meant by this? So think about it. Faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. So use the knowledge that you gained from him and what you learned about him from those resources on the previous slide, and think about faith is taking the first step even when you can't see the whole staircase. So how did that apply to civil rights in his life? And just think about it, him as a pastor. Okay, so in order to check your understanding of Martin Luther King Jr., please complete the Quizlet. And then after you learned about Martin Luther King Jr., after what you learned about Martin Luther King Jr., please take a moment and examine the photo on the right of him. So you can see there's a photo of his statue, his memorial in Washington, D.C. From what you learned in the lesson, please reflect on why the statue was left partially incomplete. So why was the statue left partially incomplete? You can see down here. There's no feet. And there you go. And what could this possibly represent? And I was actually told that when the statue was first done, his face did not look very much like his face. So it was redone originally, the top portion, to look more like him, represent him more. But then down below, like I said, why do you believe this was left intentionally unfinished? So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say on that. Okay, and actually I included these because a couple of years ago I had a conference in DC, and you can see Mrs. Salyards, Mrs. Maurer, Dr. Maurer, and Mrs. Morrissey were all in front of the memorial. And then a couple of months actually after that, this was summer, this was January, my husband was actually sworn into the Supreme Court of the United States. So I got to go to the Supreme Court building and hear the justices and listen to some cases, which was pretty crazy. And we were able to get a picture of us in front of the memorial. Okay, so just kind of throwing that out there. So if you do go down to DC, you should definitely check these things out. Okay, so have your ideas changed, or how have your ideas changed on this subject? So just think about that. Maybe you learned something completely different about the civil rights and Martin Luther King and what he did. Okay, so any questions or concerns, reach out. If not, you have a wonderful, productive week. Thank you, guys.